This is the fifth of 6 videos showing you different ways to use the multiplication grid to figure out some skills. This is going to be on equivalent fractions and reducing fractions. Originally I was going to have this as 2 separate videos, but it's really the same skill, so we're just going to go there. First of all, remember fraction tiles is the best way to learn about fractions because they are something you can actually touch. They're concrete in this world that you can manipulate on the table. And you can see how different things have different parts and that kind of thing. Then of course we move on to that picture representation of fractions like 1/2, where you literally shade in half a circle, or 1/2, which we already see is the same as 2/4. Now, when you're looking at fractions, equivalent fractions, you can see that right away. It's a picture, there's half, they're filled in, good to go. But a lot of times things will get more complicated as you add different parts. So, when we're filling in half, they can have different names. And they of course come from the names come from the parts that we fill in. One part is filled in of 2 parts, 2 equal parts are filled in of 4 parts, 3 equal parts are filled in of 6 parts. So what we're really doing here is we're just multiplying. That's all we're really doing. To get from 1/2 to 2/4, we just multiply the top and the bottom by 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, that's all we did there. In a fancy way, this got multiplied as well. Now, here's a quick way to do this on the grid. When you're looking at equivalent fractions, look at this. If we look at the grid and we say, okay, let's say here's our fraction, 1/2. All we have to do is go ahead and move our fingers over. 1/2 is the same as 2/4. Just like we did the same thing with 1/2 times 2 on the top and the bottom, we did the same to both. We just move along the same way, and 1/2 is the same as 2/4. We keep sliding over, we've got 1/2 is the same as 2/4, is the same as 3/6. Everything on this line together is a fraction that represents a half. 1/2, 2/4, 3/6, 4/8, 5/10, 6/12. This is true about simple fractions like this. This is also true about more spread out fractions like 1/5 is the same as 2/10. Let's look at that over here. If you have 1/5, times 2/2, well, 1 times 2 is 2, and 5 times 2 is 10. So 1/5 is going to be the same as 2/10. The same is true if we keep going. If we multiply this times 4, well, 2 times 4 is 8, and 10 times 4 is 80. So 1/5 is going to be the same as 2/10 is the same as 8/40. Well, let's see if we can find that on the grid. Well, look, 1/5 is the same as 2/10. We slide it over, and again we see, 8/40. Notice it's the same distance, and we just keep our fingers on the same line. This gets just as easy when we get to other fractions. Those are just with a 1 on top. Well, what if we have something weird like 5/6? And we say, let's multiply it times 3/3. Well, that would be 15. 6 times 3 is 18. 5/6 is going to be the same as 15/18. Well, let's look on our grid. Since we know we're trying to get to that 18, let's see, 5/6, here they are. We're moving over to an 18. It's 15/18. As long as we know what that bottom number is, we just keep sliding until that bottom number is the same. So you could do this all day. The same is true about reducing. The goal with fractions a lot of times is to get it to that most simplified form. And you're trying to simplify it down to the smallest kind of fraction. So if you had something weird like 8/24, well, usually you'd do something like this. You would divide 24 by 8 and you'd end up with 3, because 8 would go into 24 one time, and then you'd end up with 1/3. Well, in this case, you could just slide your finger over until the smallest chunk, and you'd be at 1/3. Or if you had something really weird like 24/36, and you'd start thinking to yourself, man, there must be a 6 in there somewhere, because I know that 36 can be divided by 6, and I'd get 6. So you divide this by 6 as well. Well, slide the whole thing over. 24/36 is really 4 6s. But wait a minute, isn't that the same as something else? Here's 4 6s right here. I can reduce it down even more to 2/3. So here's a quick way to just use the grid to reduce things down.